Welcome to episode 337 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and Mr. Mike Potter is here. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dave. This is awesome. Always glad to be here.
Glad to be here. We timed it just perfectly for some special announcement you might be making later on in the show, but glad you're here.
Yes, it's snowing. Yeah.
It is snowing here in Chicago. That's the one announcement. Yep. And also here's Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm great, Dave, but I don't have any special announcements. I'm so sorry.
No, you don't. You don't. And always here, and we appreciate it, is Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
It's napping season in my household. It's like if I can squeeze in 4 naps a day, it's a great day for me.
There you go.
Good, great.
I'm kicking off my time off of work for the next 2 weeks, so I'm happy. I'll be taking some time off, so going to be doing some extra things I don't get to be able to get to mostly, but especially podcasting and other things. But I'm glad that everybody's here this week. This is an episode just before our Christmas holiday, so we're going to have a little fun this week. Vision Pro, as we always talk about, the betas that are out. Going to focus a little bit on 18.2, some AirTag. I found some good info on that, as well as a little bit of touch on Mac as well. So let's just go ahead and start it off. As we open up is the Vision Pro. Vision OS 2.3 Beta 1 was just released. It basically means we're going to probably see some features, some new bug fixes, and other things. But so far, I haven't found a thing. How about you, Marty?
You know, this could be a really short segment because I did my usual snooping and couldn't find much on it. Some of the stuff was like developer programming kinds of things that I think had been in previous versions. But, you know, some of the news sources are just saying, hey, we don't know anything. They're not releasing anything. And if you go to the developer notes, they just say, yeah, it exists, but we don't know anything about it.
Yeah. This was a very unknown what they're even talking about. So, but there's also a story here that Apple is already starting to work on Vision OS 3.0 and 2.4. So who knows? You might jump right to 2.4 beta without we knowing it here, because they already see some evidence of that. That both those major versions will be coming out on the operating system. This, as we know, that this was going on for a while, the beta. I think they keep going on with it, and I've been staying on the betas pretty much. I know that's unusual for me usually, but it's Vision Pro and it's not a primary device, and I'm happy to test to see what all the new stuff. But we don't know. Again, there's really no other details on that either, other than we know it's coming. It's something that we look forward to. So I don't think you want to add anything on that, Marty.
No, just that, this stuff showed up because somebody was reading some code of something and there was a reference to it within it. So that's how they found this.
This was interesting. I found information from Patently Apple. It's always interesting to go to that site to see if what the patents have been approved for specifically Apple. The Patent Office did officially publish a series of 36 newly granted patents for Apple, particularly reporting over the design patents of Apple Vision Pro and spatial computer and more, including one of the embedded optical sensors in a micro LED display for a MacBook and more. And there are all kinds of other patents, including the light seal that's patented, the way that it seals the light out of the Vision Pro, as well as the cushions. And it's always interesting to see what Apple had up their sleeve with the stuff. So at least that's protected, right?
Yep. Well, just in time for Samsung to steal it and use it on the model they have coming out. I mean, there's another article we've talked about Samsung's new version, and it looks like it's a mixed family of Meta and Apple Vision Pro in terms of design. So,
yep. So, lots of interesting stuff. Guys, want anything to add with patents? I don't know if there's anything of interest for you guys. Let's jump right in here. And this was interesting. This Vision Pro's immersive video is getting a big 2025 update with the new Blackmagic camera and DaVinci Resolve. One of the most remarkable Vision Pro experiences involving involves watching immersive video. The content available has been released, and it's at a slower pace, but as many users hoped. But the changes might happen with this coming from Blackmagic. They announced this today. They're accepting pre-orders of the first camera system designed for capturing an Apple immersive video. Pre-orders are open now, and the delivery happens in Q1 of 2025. It only costs a mere $30,000. And I would hope you're not one of those people buying this, Marty.
I am passing on this product.
Hard.
For now.
Not hard.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see that you've got some pretty serious specs here. The dual 8160 by 7200, 58.7 megapixel sensors, stereoscopic 3D immersive image capture, a massive 16 stops of dynamic range. I can go on and on. And then DaVinci Resolve is going to have some immersive features as well, monitoring the Apple Vision Pro with the studio timeline, as well as Blackmagic Raw immersive video shots. So good to see that they're incorporating it into the DaVinci Resolve too. I'm not a big user of that. I don't know if any of you guys have been using that much. I know, Chuck, you're a big Final Cut Pro user, so.
I'm excited to see what it can do. I mean, I'm not going to be investing in the $30,000 camera.
No, of course.
And unless you guys are willing to go in 4 ways, and then it would only be $7,500 each.
We're pulling Eric Bolden here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
So we get it a month. We get it a week a month, is what you're saying.
A week a month.
Yeah, and we got 2 Chicagos, 1 Ohio, and 1 Pennsylvania. I mean, that works. What could go wrong?
A few hours difference.
Yeah. So I love the idea though that Apple is adding support for things in Final Cut, because I think that shows their commitment to it. For those of us that have been around Final Cut for a while, there were times it felt a little abandoned. And so, with this, it feels rejuvenated and feels like it has a proper and appropriate place in the Apple world.
Yep. And then one last story about Vision Pro is Apple is likely to make Vision Pro lineup more affordable in 2 ways. This actually was posted today. They're saying that the Apple plans to launch a next generation Vision headset as early as 2026, so another year from now, more affordable. This was according to TrendForce. In the previous rumors, they were saying it was planning to introduce both a next generation Vision Pro and a mainstream headset, which would be more likely named Apple Vision without the Pro moniker. So everybody the same complaints. $3,500. It's not a mass product. That's what Tim Cook said that. So anyway, I just found it intriguing to see where we'll go with these lower end devices. And I think really what will happen is once Google releases their XR of Android, and then you got Samsung with their new product, where we will be with Vision Pro at that point. But we still got to get some more developers developing apps and getting more immersive video out there. And I think that's where the stall is. Don't you think, Marty?
Yeah, I'm, you got to think of the trajectory of this. Of course, the price is going to go down. Of course, the product and the elements in the product are going to be better. I think the Vision Pro, though, will still be sustainable past whatever model comes out in 2026. That will be a light version of it. It might have some newer components in it, but I think it's also going to have some restrictions based on what it can do or what it's intended to do in order to get the price down to a marketable price for public.
Yeah. So Vision Pro news this week was kind of uneventful, so there wasn't really a ton to talk about. I don't know. You guys touched on the Vision profiles, but I'm sure there's going to be more as the new year comes upon us. Lots more to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
So let's move on to beta. Apple did release the first betas of iOS 18.3 as well as iPadOS 18.3. And it's just a week after 18.2, the public version was released. Really not much on there other than the fact that Apple's still working on the rolling out the more Apple Intelligence features. 18.2 and iPadOS 18.2 did include the image playground, Genmoji, and the S-Lady Chat GPT integration, but there's still a lot more new S-Lady functions that are slated for next year. So we could see some more updates later. What have you been seeing so far on beta, Marty?
I just put this beta on, and I'm still playing around with summary notifications. I'm playing around with mail in terms of what is the two options or the two categories that you have for mail. I am not a cheerleader for Genmoji. I can't even think of cute, fun reasons to create them. And I guess with 15.3 now, it's available on Mac OS.
Yes,
and just before the show, I was playing around trying to figure out how to access it. But yeah, I'm more interested in the writing tools and more interested in the summative tools that are available with it than any of the art tools.
So how the rest of you feel about Genmojis? I'm sure it's not something you want to dabble in, right?
It's one of those things I think would be fun to play with if I ever get time to play with it. But I haven't figured out a compelling use for it, so therefore it's sort of at the bottom of the list as something that when I get the time, I'll see what it looks like and then go from there.
As Mike shrugs his shoulders.
Yeah, well, AI generated imagery is just something that turns me off. It's very easy to identify, and I have found myself turning away from podcasts and turning away from YouTube channels where they use AI generated imagery for their thumbnail. It just it has this revulsive reaction within me, and I don't want anything to do with it. So I apologize if you use it for your podcast, but I won't watch or probably listen to it if you do.
Yeah, I use it for helping with my show notes. I do it with my chapters and that kind of stuff. But I haven't. I mean, there are other friends that we know have done to do podcasts. They are using those as their cover page. So,
Mike, I want to challenge you on.
I'm glad they enjoy it.
I might challenge you on that. Not on the.
That's fine.
Not on the your like or dislike of it, but I think different generations look at it completely different. I think if you ask my 30-year-old daughter or 30-year-old son, it's just a graphic to them. It's not something that, I don't like it because and it's sort of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So you see images in a way differently than I think other generations do. So it might not be as a big a thing for other folks, particularly, and I know you're young, Mike, but particularly younger generation
32
folks. So 2 years older than my daughter is what you're saying.
There you go.
And hey, Dave, you want to watch? Yeah, you want to watch Mike freak out?
Don't put a Genmoji on screen, Chuck.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'll hang up.
But I'm just putting a link in the chat that is worth going and playing with because you can play with it for free.
Oh, I got to figure out we'll pull up the chat, don't I?
The Zoom chat.
Well, it's in both.
I can't figure this out.
But it is
Hey Jen,
an AI video generator where you can go in and you now there's one podcast I'm not going to say that was experimenting with they do the narration and the AI generated personality is not reading, it's doing
it.
Why? Because they can.
If it's an experiment, fine, but why? Don't do that on a regular basis.
It's because it's there.
Good.
But Mike, you're arguing that you're assuming that human beings have personality.
I'm merely arguing. Dave was talking about our reaction to Genmoji. My reaction is visceral. Not just Genmoji, but AI generated imagery in general. It's just very fake. It's very soft. It just repulses me. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
That's my personal take. I'm sure other people love it, and good on them. I'm glad they enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, I have listened to podcasts that use it.
Okay.
Some very good friends use it, and I do listen to their show. So there you go.
Well, that link, Hey Jen, will be in our show notes, as well as I shared it in our YouTube chat where our YouTube chat is at youtube.com/intouchwithios, where Cletus and Webb has joined us and a number of others, and you could be joining us live as well. And Cletus, yes, I don't want to forget him. So thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and move on to any other. One more thing, actually, I'm sorry, I wanted to talk about a little bit is on the tvOS update they've found so far. I keep seeing this on iOS 18.3 and tvOS 18.3, the robot vacuum support in the Home app, how important that is. They're seeing some code references in the first beta. It's supporting the core functionality of the robot vacuum cleaners, such as power control, cleaning mode, vacuuming, mops, and mopping. That's change status. So they found that in the code, and that's about it. That's what I was saying. This 18.3 doesn't seem too terribly eventful.
So Dave, does that mean I can be using my Apple TV and running my vacuum at the same time?
I guess so.
Which wouldn't that kind of defeat the purpose of watching stuff on Apple TV?
They're kind of quiet.
Okay.
That's if you're accessing your home app from Apple TV.
There's talk about a sort of a smart panel for your home that Apple's going to do in the next year. And so something like being able to tap up on my panel and start my Roomba, going around the room seems like that seems like sense, but I don't know if it just to me is kind of weird to run it while I'm watching television.
Yeah. And Cletus in the chat says it's time for me to buy a new robot maid. The Jetsons. Rosie the robot.
Cletus better hold off because, Apple has to do something with all those old 7-inch Mac Mini chassis. So we should be watching for an Apple robot vacuum real soon now. Real soon.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
There is enough dust in the bottom of my 7-inch Mac Mini. So
I think we have a show title too. Oh, all right. So let's go ahead and we'll move on. We'll go on to the 18.2. I want to talk a little bit about what you can do with Chat GPT integration. I don't know. I think 3 or 4 of us have iPhone 16. I'm really liking that new feature where you can tap and hold the camera control button and brings up your camera that you can ask or search for something, and it uses Chat GPT to find what it's all about. So, you can point it at a tree. You can point it at a flower. I've pointed at a cup. And here, I'll do it here. There's a cup here sitting here. When I tap ask, it goes out and it's asking Chat GPT what it's going to do. And I find it interesting that it tells you it's a blue plastic cup often used for casual drinks and a lightweight and durable, making it ideal for everyday use or outdoor activities. So it tells you about the cup. So that's kind of funny. And so I find that it has some pretty amazing ways of being up to something quick, as ways being able to push this button and being able to do it. And you can do it both with asking it by tapping ask, or you can just tap search. So if you tap search, it's going to search with Google, whatever I'm pointing to. And then like I was pointing at my Apple Magic Keyboard, and then of course it brought up what an Apple, where people are selling Apple Magic Keyboards, clearly one on eBay. So that's kind of a cool feature too. So I don't know if you have any of you guys, Marty or tried that yet?
Is this visual intelligence? What you're saying?
It is. It's Apple Intelligence. So it's the camera control button that you tap and hold it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you haven't tried this yet.
I did. Well, no, I did it with my wife. Okay. And it didn't give me the response I wanted.
You aimed it at your wife?
At her face.
I said, "Who is this?" And
that's a good one.
Within
oh my gosh!
I mean, within the context of what I'm going to use it for, am I going to point it at a keyboard and ask what it is? I know it's a keyboard, so I've got to come up with more difficult visual problems for it to attempt to solve. Then this is a blue, and I see Mike's trying to do it right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to do it.
He doesn't have a 16.
I don't have a 16. What I'm trying to figure out is how that is better than something like Google Lens.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 2 steps versus 1 step. So I'm always looking for the most efficient way to do things. And it seems to me as if perhaps that's a little more steps than I should have to take.
Well, it's only 2 steps. Hold the button down and
I had 1 step. I had 1 step.
If it's truly something that I don't know what it is, I might try that because I'd be curious to see whether. But too often when I ask the S lady what something is, her response is, "I don't know, but I can give you a bunch of websites that you can look at."
Yeah, I love that response. Yeah.
Allegedly, this is supposed to help with that, right? When our friend on the phone, because I didn't want to say us lady, when our friend on the phone doesn't know the answer, now it's supposed to pass off the question to Chat GPT, right? I think that's the whole point of integrating it this way.
Right.
Yeah. So that could be useful to get something more than just web links.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So ChatGPT will not be enabled by default. Now, remember, you have to have the 15 Pro or higher iPhone to be able to have this. When you go open in the settings, you tap Apple Intelligence and S Lady. You under the extensions, you tap ChatGPT, toggle the switch next to it, and say Use ChatGPT. And then if you have a free or paid account, you can optionally sign in. To use your account credentials. I'm assuming you've done that, Marty. I know you have an account. And then you can have the S Lady confirm the Chat GPT requests. And of course, Apple really stresses the privacy. They don't store your queries or responses, and your data won't be used to enhance or train their models. And if you choose to sign in with a Chat GPT account, it's the OpenAI's data privacies will apply. So, but I think Apple has a little bit of ways to go for the S ladies working with Apple Intelligence, in my opinion. I think most people's opinions, because they still have to add some more features to it yet. So, I found it to be very cool to be able to do that. This was an interesting story that they said that most iPhone users are uninterested in Apple Intelligence. This was a survey. iPhone users have largely avoided the Apple Intelligence features released prior to 18.2, this survey suggested. And they just revealed about half of iPhone users, almost half of 47.6%, considered AI an important factor when purchasing a smartphone. 73% of those who have used Apple's AI offerings feel that the features add little or no value to our experience. And the sentiment's not unique to Apple, though. The study found that 87% of Samsung users expressed similar dissatisfaction with the AI tools on their Galaxy devices. So this leads to tell me that I think we have a bit of ways to go with the AI or Apple Intelligence and where things are. What do you think, Chuck, on this?
I think this was one of the stupidest things that has been in the news this week, because this came out right after literally right after 18.2 dropped, less than a day. And I'm borrowing a little bit of this commentary from Ken Ray on macOS Ken, because it's just like nobody. This is the thing I hate about betas, that there are all these expectations set, and if you're talking beta, at least you're saying you're talking beta. But then people think, well, it must be there, and up to this point, it really hasn't been. So I just think this was a grossly unfair poll of any kind. if you want to do it in a week or two after people have had a chance to play with it and then draw a conclusion, that's fine. But, beyond that, I think we're all curious. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but I think, we're still doing baby steps. And we still have the advantage that it's Apple intelligence. It's not necessarily sending all the information out to who knows who. So I'm content with letting it develop as is and evaluating it as we go along and say, okay, it's not for me right now. Or maybe like Mike, maybe the Genmoji feature is not for me right now. But as the things roll out, I will check it, I will evaluate it, and then I'll make a decision. But to say that iPhone users are uninterested is that just seems like such a misdirected kind of conclusion. I'll get off my soapbox now. Sorry.
That's okay. Anything you wanted to add on this, Mike?
Well, I disagree from the standpoint that Chuck is talking about the Apple nerds who are like us, who are most interested in this sort of thing, and the general using population. I mean, based on how hard Google and others are pushing and pushing and pushing their AI features on us, that kind of tells me that people aren't adopting it. That they're continuing to push and say, hey, you got to try this, you got to try this, you got to try this. And I think with the number of tech behemoths that are forcing AI onto end users, there's a lot of, I can use Chat GPT, I can use Gemini, I can use AI or Apple Intelligence, but that doesn't help me use my phone any better than how I was using it before. Now, Marty has some good points in terms of using it for things like, augmenting your writing, helping to improve your writing, not replace you as an author, but to augment what you're saying and perhaps make it better or more understandable or something like that. And I do think and agree with all of you who said that things like Genmoji are going to be adopted by a completely different generation than me. And it's going to be very, very popular. But I don't think folks are going to necessarily think of it as they're using Apple Intelligence. I think it's just going to be a feature on the phone that they use, and it's not going to necessarily click with them that they're using this overarching feature that Apple has branded that way. So I don't know. I think as Chuck's right, though, from the standpoint that as the features continue to roll out and people continue to play with them, they will find that they use them. And maybe the survey was only wrong in that it's asking if people are interested in Apple Intelligence and not are they interested in the augmented writing capabilities? Are they interested in the Genmoji feature? Are they interested in this and that people may see as different features than Apple Intelligence? Maybe.
And you, Marty?
Yeah, I'm agreeing all around. I think survey done too early for people to pass any accurate judgment on it, to really have some feelings about what it is. I also think folks don't know how much their phone already does AI in a way. So, we've had spell check for I don't know how long. That's essentially using a language model system to come up with the right spelling of a word.
Yep.
Now, if you ask people, do they like the fact that their phone can correct their spelling, you'll get a different response than, do you like AI capabilities on your phone, or is Apple Intelligence? So there are things like that will be adopted and they'll be considered just part of the system. Like, well, now I guess I'm getting all of these summaries of these messages that came through from one person, and that's kind of cool. They won't see it as Apple Intelligence. They won't see it as AI necessarily. They'll see it as a new function on their phone. So I think that's where the challenge is. They're doing it because everybody has to slap that label on whatever they're doing now. They can't not have an AI component or branding as part of their advertising for their product. So I just don't think people know how much it's already integrated into their systems.
Right. Yep. And also, I just wanted to hit on Apple Mail. I've been kind of, I don't know about you guys on 18.2, but the new Mail app is looking a lot more like Messages. When you open it up, that redesign is all obviously automatically evident, and it drove me crazy. I am not a big fan of the categories feature. I don't know about what you guys are, but going into Mail and having the categories and all that just drove me crazy. So I talked about the tip last week where you actually can go in and tap the ellipse, the three dots, and you can switch it between list view and category view, if you so choose, and bring it back to the way it was. But the one thing that drove me most crazy is I just don't like those icons there's next to each email. I like the list. I've always used the list. I really like that. So there is a way to turn that off, and then I'll have a link in the show notes here. If you go into settings, apps, and then under mail, there's a toggle where you can just tap turn off show contact photos. That's what those are. And then it brings up, I was happy, and it brought it back to the list view like I like, and we move on. So I don't know if you guys are using Apple Mail. I think, Chuck, you use Gmail most of the time, but so this isn't really affecting you, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, Marty.
Yeah, I use Apple Mail on my mobile device. I'm using it on my desktop now too. The thing that gets me about now, first, Dave, would you feel better if it wasn't those little icons, but they were Genmojis, or they were
no,
they were Apple generated?
Mike's leaving.
just testing the waters there, Dave.
No,
but the idea that, the tabs, the problem with on the phone is I forget there's another tab that's off screen, and right. I forget to switch to it. So it's not until I go to my desktop that I see some mail that's been moved over, or that I hadn't seen on my phone right. because it had been moved over to the other tab. So I just don't have I'm not using them. So I'm kind of stuck in one mode and missing some things until I go to my desktop.
Do you use Apple Mail on the iPhone, Mike?
No, I don't. The interesting thing about listening to you describe the features, and I'd read about all these features, especially the categorization feature, is that Apple loves to promote this kind of stuff as new, and yet everything you were describing was Apple aping Gmail. The icons to the left of the messages, the categorization features, these are all features of Gmail, and they've been there for several years now. And like Gmail, you can turn them off if you want to. Personally, I like the little icons in Gmail. I use the combination of the Gmail. Well, no, I think I primarily use the Gmail app on my phone, but on the Mac, I use Thunderbird. But I kind of like the little icons next to the messages in Gmail because that gives me a place to tap when I want to select a bunch of messages.
Yeah.
And
maybe
so
I'll go back to it, but
the Apple Mail is different in that you always had to expose that little circle to tap when you wanted to select a bunch by pressing and holding or something. But with Gmail, it's just tap, 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 and you got the little icons to do it. Now, that's Gmail. But yeah, it just sounds like Apple's kind of copying the familiar and perhaps hoping that people who otherwise use the Gmail app will migrate over to Apple Mail.
Mike, do you want to add something, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm just curious because are you talking about the little box, the star, and the little wedge thing that says it's important? Are those the icons you're referring to, Mike?
No, I thought Dave was talking about little icons for the sender. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, it's a contact photo.
Yeah, a little contact photo.
Oh.
I'm
sorry.
So this is Gmail.
Yeah.
Oop, I just tapped the wrong thing. But this is Gmail. You have a little contact photo next to each one.
Right.
So I was misunderstanding what you were referring to. So
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the contact photos. But the way they did it too was the categories. If you did use categories, those contact photos would become the category icon, whether it's So that's what they did originally with that. I mean, I think the photos of the person, if they had a photo in their email, would come up, but most of the time it was all the categories, because so that's the first thing I turned off was categories, and then the second thing I want to do is turn off the contact photo, because for years it's always on the iPhone. It's always been without anything, just a nice simple list.
Yeah,
and that's what I like.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Dave. I don't want my email app automatically categorizing stuff for me. I want to move things on my own. I'd rather have everything come into the inbox and then sort it out later.
Yeah, exactly. So more things on iOS 18.2. So we'll find more and probably talk about it. But let's go ahead and move on. I got some quite a couple of AirTag topics. We really haven't talked about the AirTag too often. I found this one was kind of cool. It's actually it's a product, and I'm been very tempted to buy it because it's not very expensive. This was from 9 to 5 Mac. So it says AirTag's worst feature gets fixed forever by this new add-on accessory. And it said AirTag is a fantastic product with a lot of helpful use cases. Its greatest flaw, though, is that battery life. Fortunately, there's a new accessory that makes your AirTag battery last much, much longer. This will give you 10 years of battery life. It's made by a company called Elevation Lab, and it's an add-on accessory for Apple's AirTag. It's called the Time Capsule. That's kind of confusing there. And it's aimed to eliminate the AirTag battery anxiety. And basically what it is, it's a little bit of a case, and it's got a fake, the 2032 battery that you put the AirTag onto, and then you put two AA batteries, and you can put lithium batteries into this, and you close it up, and voila, it's the battery, you won't have to worry about battery life. Now, the con to this is, obviously, it's a lot bigger than an AirTag. AirTag is the size of a quarter, whereas this thing is, like a kind of it's almost a rectangular sized device. So it's a little bit bigger, but, who knows if you want something to last as long. I thought this was an interesting product, and someone really come up with some creative ways to help with battery life. I mean, we're probably going to get new AirTags next year as it is anyway, but something interesting. I think it's like $20. I'll have a link in the show notes from Amazon for that. What do you think? What do you think, Chuck?
Hey, I love this. I mean, I loved it, and then I backed off on it a little bit because for $20, it would be great just to be able to, if you had something that you really wanted to do long term. And I think there was a discussion in one of the Slacks about having this for your car, and to me that's probably the best use case, because other than that, I don't know of anything that I am not comfortable swapping my AirTags out for. Unless frankly, maybe my backpack, just because, that year seems to go by pretty quick. And so this might be nice to just say, okay, my backpack will be trackable for the next 10 years, and stick it in the bottom and just let it go. So I think it's brilliant, and I'm kind of sorry that Apple didn't bring this one out, but it also feels a little less elegant than Apple would want. So I think it serves a great niche.
I'll agree with you on that. Any thoughts on this, Mike?
Oh, it was interesting, my reaction to the story as you were going through it, because my first reaction was bemusement at the size of this. And then as I was going through the article, exactly like Chuck, I was starting to realize the things that this would be most useful for. And the backpack was the first thing that came to mind. Backpack, luggage, anything large that you are normally wanting to track with an AirTag, this would be perfect for, because you don't feel
confident.
Yeah, it's confidence. You don't have to worry about it, the battery going out on you. There was something in the article, I just saw it go by real quick, about thousands of dollars worth of equipment that was stolen, and Oh, I think it was a comment on the story. $10,000 worth of gear was stolen from my car. They immediately pulled up Find My, only to find that the AirTags battery had gone out. So something like this would be a perfect answer for a situation like that. So yeah, I started out going, okay, that's a little weird, and then started to realize that no, it's actually a really good idea. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, though, just to add on to it, from like what Mike was saying, it doesn't look too techy. It looks like just a hunk of black plastic. And that whole, that appeals, because that, if you see an AirTag and with the little Apple symbol on it, well, okay, everybody knows what that is. But if it's just a big hunk of black plastic, you think that's an extra battery or something. And so if a thief picks it up, I feel like they might not be as anxious to throw it out the window and not be tracked. They might just ignore it or not even notice it.
Yeah, sure. But anything you want to add, Marty?
Yeah, stay with me on this one. It's
Absolutely.
bigger, but it's not too big to swallow or to make someone else swallow. And it will give you 10 years of tracking, which is great. I'll tell you, my problem with AirTags is I have enough of them that I swap them out between different book bags, cases that I have, and any relevance in terms of numbering system that I have connected to them just completely gets lost in the process. So this seems like here's one that I can set up and set in a book bag and never have to change it for 10 years. Because when I get notifications that this tag is running low on battery, first it might say it's on this book bag and it's really on my wife's car keys. So I have to search to find it, to figure it out. And frankly, it just happens too many times during the year. And then you buy those baby-proof little batteries instead of the ones that you need to.
Yeah, trying to peel that stuff off of it so it works.
And so 10 years, I'm good with it. I'll probably invest in a few of these things and field test them for you.
I see
Look for that review.
I see a market for this, just to build on what Chuck and Marty both said just now, the 10-year life of this and the not techie look of it. If you really want to track an item, this is kind of perfect to sew within a backpack or sew within a piece of luggage and hide behind some material so that it's not readily apparent that it could potentially be a tracker. So if you're worried about something being stolen and like a backpack, you could literally sew this under a panel and not have to worry about it for 10 years.
Yep. Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. And then I wanted to just review real quick here. There's been such a big news of this as far as AirTags being supported by airlines, U.S. airlines. This week, as we record, the U.S. and Canadian airlines, United, Delta, and Air Canada are going to begin rolling out support for 18.2's new item location sharing feature to help track lost or delayed baggage. According to Apple's marketing chief, Greg Jaws, and he says the feature will allow you to temporarily share the location of an AirTag with others, including employees at select airlines. This way, if you have put on an AirTag inside your bags, the airline can better help you find them if they're lost or delayed. Apple had previously announced other airlines that would support the feature in the coming months. A lot of airlines across different countries around the world. But this is the new share item location feature that's in 18.2. So check that out. I think this is a great thing that's out there for those of us who travel a lot. I think it's a great thing to be able to have, right?
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. If you're traveling with your partner, you can be sharing locations for items that you have, and it's very usable. Particularly for travel.
Yeah. You want to add anything else to this? Go ahead.
It just feels like all of a sudden that the airlines, especially, or that particular use case is being leaned into. I mean, the airlines are now saying they're going to help track through AirTags. Now you're going to be able to share the location of AirTags. So I love this. I feel like it's long overdue.
Very much so. Yep. I think it's going to help for everybody for travel. So, all right, let's go to In Touch with Mac this week. This will excite Mike a little bit, other than beta. Apple did seed the first betas of Mac OS Sequoia 15.3 to developers, and I believe it's going to be out for public betas as well. Again, they don't know what the heck they did. The Genmojis were added. That's about it. I just installed it on my second Mac Mini. I haven't seen really anything exciting on it as of yet. So, yeah. You got this running, Marty?
Yeah, I've got it running. Of course, they're coming with the amount of stuff that I have. They're coming every week or every other week. I just about get one version loaded, and then the next thing, before I have a chance to figure out what it does, a new version comes out. So,
yeah. Any thoughts, Mike?
No, not on this. No.
All right. I know you'll have some thoughts on this because macOS Sequoia 15.2 came out, and it broke super duper bootable backups, as well as it broke carbon copy cloner, as well as backups. It's affecting Time Machine too. The first story was that it was a critical bug that was discovered that would prevented the very popular backup utility Super Duper from creating bootable backups. This was according to the app's chief developer, Dave Nanian. He said it stems from an issue of the resource busy error that occurs during the final stages of the backup process when attempting to copy the system preboot or recovery files. While some errors in the past could be resolved by keeping the system awake during the backup, it's reported that this new bug appears to be more fundamental. Maybe Apple did it on purpose. Is very possible. There is a temporary workaround where SuperDuper users can still back up their application's data and settings using the app's backup all files option with the Smart Update enabled. However, this method won't create a bootable backup that can be used immediately for system recovery. The SurePocket, the app developer that created this app, it's a very popular app, filed a bug report with Apple and is awaiting a resolution. So still haven't heard anything yet on this. What do you think on this, Mike?
It's not horribly surprising. I mean, Apple kind of broke these kind of backups years ago when they took away the capability from the developers to do this themselves. Apple said, no, you can't do this anymore. You have to use our tools to back up the OS. You can back up everything else, but you can't back up the OS. And so when you put everything under this one umbrella, and then that umbrella springs a leak, everything comes crashing down. So it's unfortunate. I know every time something like this happens, people say, "Oh, it's deliberate. It's deliberate. Apple did this on purpose." And other than the screen sharing permission bug, which I'm going to continue calling that a bug until Apple finally pulls their heads out of their butts about it. I don't think this was done on purpose necessarily. I think this, not at a point 2 release. I mean, if it were more of a major release, I'd say maybe, but no, I think it's a bug, and because of the way this is structured, and because Apple says you have to use our tools to copy the OS, this is broken. Now, the good news is that you can still use SuperDuper and Carbon Copy Cloner and whatever favorite cloning tool you want to use to make a backup of everything else, and that everything else backup can be used when restoring a Mac. You just point the installation tool to that backup, and it will restore your backup, and you'll be good as new when all is said and done. So it's not horribly tragic. It's just horribly unfortunate.
And before I get to comments from the rest of the panel here, there was another story that actually came out today as we record, that it's possibly breaking Time Machine backup soon. It said somebody had their Time Machine blown away by this bug happening. So it appears to be specific to Apple Silicon Macs, which there's a lot of them out there now. So this kind of is in conjunction with what happened to SuperDuper.
Yeah,
Carbon Copy Cloners Carbon Copy Cloners affected as well. So Chuck, what are your thoughts on this?
Sort of like Mike, this is not new, and there's, from what I've read, and I'm a little bit out of my depth here on the security parts, but there seem to be some really good security reasons not to be able to create a bootable backup. So I support the security absolutely. As a user, I find it kind of, I yearn for the good old days of being able to boot from an external drive and not have to worry about it. But like Mike said, the solution would be to buy a different Mac and, restore. And, that's it. You all your apps come back. You have to reset all those permissions. All your data comes back. So it's an inconvenience. It's one I wish somebody would find a way around. But as soon as, it's like some of the other security topics we talk about. If you find a way around it, then you're opening a door for a security hole. So,
yep.
To be clear, you don't have to buy another Mac to do a restore.
Oh no!
If your other Mac is okay, you can use it.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, that came out wrong.
You don't have to buy another Mac.
Yeah, you know what I meant, though, Mike.
Apple would love you to buy another Mac, but you don't have to buy another Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be able to take an external drive and
no, you're right.
From machine A and boot into machine B, and everything was right there and running. So that's the part. Yes, that's why I was thinking of multiple machines.
I deeply miss that capability.
Yeah.
That is super valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Marty, what are your thoughts?
I am not in favor in going back to the good old days because any excuse to buy a new Mac, I'm on it. So if I need a new Mac to do that, I did a little check to see whether or not this was corrected in 15.3, and it's not. It doesn't fix the issue creating bootable backups. The problem is with Apple's replicator functionality, and it persists in the first beta version of 15.3. Meaning third-party and backup applications still cannot create functional bootable backups. So it doesn't look like the problem is going away with the next versions, or if it will go away.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll report back once we hear if it is ever fixed. We hope so. We hope it is. So let's move on to a little bit of a news before we wrap up this week. Do you realize it's been 8 years since Apple originally released the AirPods? It was September of 2016, along with the iPhone 7. They became available, and that's when they were announced, and they became available on December 19th, the day we are recording this, in 2016, following a slight delay. At the time, the wireless headphones were already on the market, but had not yet reached true mass popularity. AirPods helped to redefine the category through their convenience and seamlessly integrated with Apple devices. And then, you got through the whole stuff that Phil Schiller had said at the time about the Apple's W1 chip with innovative features. And it was priced at $159 when they first came out. I never was a big fan of the longer stems. I'm very happy with the AirPods Pro 2. It's 8 years ago since those came out. Hard to believe, huh?
It is. It seems like they've been such a part of my everything. There's always a set in my pocket. I've started using them for recording shows like this, and
shouldn't show all you the boxes of AirPod boxes I have sitting right here next to me. That's how bad I am.
Yeah. But it's been a great product. Not just a great seller for Apple, but just a super, super convenient product. And they just keep easing out the enhancements.
Yep. I've tried others and I just, this doesn't even compare. Any thoughts, Mike? Do you have AirPods? I don't think you do.
I have the first gen AirPods Pro.
Okay.
I don't like them, but I have them.
Okay. No. All right. Fair enough. How about you, Marty?
I was in on the first set and have been upgrading through it. What amazes me is how iconic they are. I mean, just in media and in views, that's what people view now as ear listening devices. It took me 8 years, but I finally got my wife to put a pair on. I guess the AirPods 4. The latest ones, and I haven't seen them since. I gave them to her. So
my wife's the same. She didn't like them. They wouldn't stay in her ears.
Oh no, my wife liked them.
She did. Okay.
Yeah, I just not have. They have not returned to me. So she's using them now as her listening device. So I think it's pretty cool. She found these like $25, they're Lenovo branded earbuds that have the little clip that wrap around your ear, and she absolutely loves them.
It stays in her ears. She's happy with it, and it's got this really funky case that you put it in. It's like snaps around. You put them in, and you got to go in different directions. When I tried them, I was like, I don't even know which one's left, which one's right. I guess you had to do a trial and error on them, but she likes them, so I'm not gonna complain. She's happy.
Yeah.
This is a PSA that we did talk about this a few weeks ago. Apple has now stopped iCloud backups. They're no longer available for iPhones and iPads running anything from iOS 8 or earlier. So making a device backup over iCloud now requires iOS 9 or later, which means iPhones and iPads that were running that older version are no longer going to be able to be backed up on iCloud. They announced this back in November. We're in December of 2024. It is now gone into effect. So support for iCloud backups on devices running iOS 8 or older has ended, and Apple has deleted all existing iCloud backups for those devices. Yikes. Apps and data stored on an iPhone or iPad running iOS 8 or earlier are not affected. These devices can still be manually updated on a Mac or on a Windows PC. So if you have a device on an older version, you can update it doing it that way. So, hey, I mean, Apple's pretty fair. When did iOS 8 come out? That has to be at least 10 or 12 years ago, maybe longer. So I can't say this is not surprising, right?
I think we've developed a tolerance for shorter periods of time for our equipment, that it just, people expect that things not to last forever.
This is true.
Sorry, Chuck, I cut you off.
No. I mean, I think this has been a good long run. I still have an iPhone 6 Plus that is doing just fine. And, it's okay. So it's not going to be backed up to iCloud. As long this, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels like this particular one has received a lot more publicity, and publicity in a good sense, that they're telling people iOS 8, you're done with iCloud. You don't have that option anymore. So you may have to go to something like iAmazing, or just take the chance that it's not going to be backed up. But I feel like this is very reasonable. It's been a good long run. And if you're still rocking an iPhone 8, it's time to upgrade.
It is, for sure. All right. Is there anything else, Mike?
No, the tinfoil hat thinking is, look, I'm paying for iCloud. If I'm paying for iCloud and I'm performing backups from my device, you should continue to allow me to make backups from my device, right? So it almost feels, like I said, from a tinfoil hat moment, as if it's an artificial constriction, as Apple likes to do sometimes. And yet this is actually more of a technical constriction, because they long ago switched to using CloudKit. As the article states, they started using CloudKit in iOS 9. So they said, hey, this is the new way of doing backups, and your iOS 8 device isn't going to use CloudKit, so we can't continue supporting this forever. So it is, when all is said and done, a technical issue. Granted, they could keep it running if they really wanted to, but the interesting thing is that it almost discourages an upgrade, because if they're going to delete your backups, and I didn't catch that in the article, and that's very unfortunate if Apple is deleting backups from iOS devices, they do encourage a restoration from iCloud when you purchase a new iPhone. So by deleting the backups and saying, well, you can't make a backup and we've deleted your backup, so how do you restore to a new iPhone, Dave? How do you restore? You have to manually back it up and manually restore it from your Mac, or I guess Windows computer.
Or iAmazing.
When you purchase a new iPhone, you're going to have to restore from a manually created backup. That seems like an onerous step to put upon people who are still using an iPhone running iOS 8 and want to upgrade to something new, because they're probably not super technically inclined if they're running that old of a phone. They don't always have to have the latest and greatest, so maybe they're not necessarily up on the process of doing a manual backup and a restore. I don't know. Seems like maybe they want to encourage people to go into the Apple Store to do it. And in that case, I could see that.
Just wanted to confirm the years since iOS 8 came out. It's been 2014. So
it's been a long time.
10 years.
Yeah. 10 years.
So 10 years. Yeah. So, a couple more stories here. I wanted to talk about Apple Maps. Apple Maps on the web, that was introduced back in July of 2024, earlier this year as we record, and has now been upgraded to support for Look Around, the feature that essentially is equivalent to Google Street View. In supported areas, Look Around provides a high-resolution ground level of restaurants and retail locations, landmarks, streets, and so on and so forth, other points of interest. And it's a feature that's been long available on iOS devices, but now it's being supported on the web. And Apple had implemented the support earlier this month, around December 11th, according to sources, and it's in multiple cities and countries. So was glad to see this. I have not used this too often on a Mac or as much. I don't know if you guys have.
I have not.
Nope.
Didn't think so.
Nope. When I think of that, I still think of Google Maps. I have yet to make the association to iOS.
Yep.
Yeah. Apple made the decision to not support standards with Apple Maps on the web. So the first time I went to go use it was from Firefox, and it said, sorry, you can't use this browser. And I said, well, sorry, I'm not going to use Apple Maps. And I went over to Google Maps. So, it's unfortunate that if you're going to create a browser-based mapping system, it should be compatible across all the browsers that are out there. And unfortunately, Apple Maps is not. So,
yep,
I don't use it.
Agreed. Did you know you can now call Chat GPT to use your phone line when cellular data is not available? OpenAI has now announced a lot of new features and enhancements for Chat GPT in the recent days this week as we record. And the company still has some more cards up its sleeve, but now OpenAI has introduced a intriguing feature for the ability to call Chat GPT using your phone without the need of cellular data. The announcement was made and they live streamed it on YouTube, and you can call 1-800-CHAT-GPT to talk to Chat GPT and get access to the same advanced answers you would get by using the chatbot on the web. Main idea was to offer access to Chat GPT via a regular phone. Is to let people talk to the chatbot when they are not in an area where there's an internet connection. The demo showed that it gave an example of people on a road trip who wanted to know more about something they were seeing without being able to upload a photo or video. Are we surprised that they did this? What's your thoughts on this, Chuck?
Surprised is an interesting question, Dave. I was surprised. I think it's kind of interesting. How many times am I going to use it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's very interesting that they are doing everything they can to get you comfortable and get you to think about using Chat GPT or AI in a broader sense. I haven't done it yet, but I will, just out of sheer curiosity.
Yeah. Curious. How about you, Mike?
When I was a kid in the 70s, we often wished that there was a phone number we could call to get the time or the weather.
There was a number, the 976 numbers.
Or other information like the phone numbers of other people out there in the world that we may not know the phone numbers to. So I'm just flabbergasted. I'm amazed that here in the 21st century, ChatGPT has created a way for me to finally call a phone number and ask what the weather is. Okay, I'm being a little facetious, but
a little.
It's I don't. Sure, it's great.
All right, Marty, I'll let you wrap up on this.
I just think it's fascinating that now ChatGPT can have voice prints of all of us when we call in and ask our questions.
Yeah.
So,
advanced voice mode technology is what they call it.
And I used to, when I was a kid, to tell you, just like Mike, I was bored and just truly fascinated that I could call up a number and get the time.
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, that's the future.
Well, I'm thinking about the one I would call
It took until 2024 for a technology company to create a system that we can call from our landlines and ask it questions about what's good. If we're going to call it from the road, what?
Couldn't you just pick up?
I don't get it.
Couldn't you?
I don't get it.
You could just pick up your party line and ask the person at the other end of the party, "What time is it?"
I'm sorry. You start talking about the calling those numbers. I mean, I remember the 976 number calling for sports. It's sport phone and find out about sports.
But now finally you can ask Chat GPT, Dave.
Yes, I can.
But Marty, I have to admit, you took it a place I didn't think of, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't, because you're calling from a phone number, and quite likely it's going to be a phone number associated with you. And so therefore it won't take very much computing power to say, oh, this is what Chuck called and queried. And am I comfortable with that?
Yeah. The second time, if I call back that number and I answer it, then I'm really going to get worried.
The hardest part is punching in your username and password. A B. No. I want that. No, C. Okay, D E F. How do I do an at? Okay, I can't figure this out. Click.
Yeah.
Well, and if Marty calls in and Chat GPT answers with, "Yes, Marty, we will order your favorite pizza and have it delivered in 20 minutes," then
using my voice, that's what you scare me.
Yeah,
that's right.
Dave, don't invite me on if you don't want snark.
I welcome snark every time. All right, two more stories here. Bad Monkey, which is with Vince Vaughn, was an absolutely amazing new series on Apple TV Plus. They are coming out with a season 2. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. And the announcement says that Bad Monkey's new season will not follow a book sequel because it was based on a book. And the forthcoming second season, interestingly, sounds like it won't even take the path the viewers are expected. And the author says the first season was based on the novel of the same name by Carl Hiaasen, and there is a sequel novel to Bad Monkey titled Razor Girl. But according to an individual with knowledge of the production, the season 2 will not be based on that book. So I'm excited. This was a really great show. And I think I don't know if everybody's seen this yet. I don't know if all of you have seen this yet. I think it's a great show.
Oh yeah, we couldn't wait. I mean, Carl Hiaasen is one of my wife's favorite authors. So when she thought Bad Monkey was going to be on, she was all over it. Now, of course, as we're watching the show, she kept pointing out all the differences between the show and the novel. But
yeah, I married somebody like your wife too.
Sounds like she's really going to enjoy season 2 then.
Yeah. My issue with this is some showrunner made the decision. Well, let's not use the follow up. Let's come up with our own storyline. The other thing that I heard about this is that they're going to try and shoot as much of it as they can in California. So it's like taking Carl Hiaasen out of the Keys,
Right.
And people were complaining, the stuff on Bad Monkey is like, oh yeah, it's 2 hours. I'll just hop up to Miami. It's not 2 hours to Miami. So
California, isn't
it? Yeah. So I love the show. I love season 1. It was my introduction to Carl Hiaasen and his material. And I really want to see season 2, but I'm afraid.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Soon enough. Chuck, you're still waiting. You're still finishing watching it, right?
I haven't started. I'm still working on other things. There's so much stuff right now on Apple TV Plus and some other places that I'm so far behind. It's embarrassing.
It happens. All right. Last story here is Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade's top 2024 games hint at a surprisingly thriving service. Apple did announce the top downloads of the year alongside the top charts for iPhone apps and non-arcade games. The most popular arcade game seems to be pointing to a surprisingly thriving service 5 years after its launch. Apple released its region-specific list here, and there's top 10 here. It goes from NBA 2K Arcade Edition, surprisingly, because it's got a lot of great graphics, and NFL Retro Bowl is another one. Sneaky Sasquatch, and there's one solitaire game I'm absolutely beyond addicted to it. I play like every day, the Solitaire by Mobileware Plus. I'm on a streak. I've done 70 in a row. See whether I've won. They do a streak, and they tell you that each time you win at least one game, you have a streak. So I've done it 70 days straight. So that's how sick I am with that game. So I know Chuck's a little surprised, right?
A little. 70 days straight, Dave.
I'm surprised. You play a game for 5 minutes, I seem to win every time. So
I haven't eaten lunch 70 days straight in a row.
I'm surprised, Dave, because I thought I pegged you for a Hello Kitty Island adventure person.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say,
or even Disney's Dreamlight Valley too.
Oh, that's really good. That actually is really good. That's a good.
I know you would. I get you on that one, Mike, because you love Disney. But this is I'm glad to see that Apple's thriving with arcade. There are lots of great games on there, and I'm not a big gamer, but I know that one I'm a little bit obsessed with. I probably need to stop. That's okay. I'll keep going. Anything else you want to add, Marty?
No, I'm not a big gamer either. For that purpose. So,
yep. So thank you all for being here. We had a great active chat tonight. Also, a shout out to Jack's Law 2.0 for being in the chat this week, as well as Cletus and Webb was there as well. And there was some others out there, and I'm sure you were watching, but that's youtube.com/intouchwithios. Come out and see us. So that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon. It's at InTouchWithIOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. Like I said before, youtube.com/intouchwithios. You can watch us live, and you also can go back and watch the past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon. That's at DaveG65. And Mike Potter, before you go, you got to tell us about the big announcement about Macstock.
The big announcement of
the dates.
The big announcement was that I finally got my act together and sent out the Save the Date newsletter for Macstock. That's the big announcement. No, the dates for Macstock 9 are locked in. They are July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Did I say that correctly? 11th?
You did.
And 13th, 2025. Same location as last year, which was great because everything was all in one place. The hotel and the conference room and everything was all in one place. So that's all locked in. A couple things still have to kind of fall into place Tetris-like before we can put the weekend passes on sale, but they'll go on sale very early 2025 or early-ish 2025. And I'm excited because there are some cool things brewing behind the scenes that I can't wait to tell everybody about as soon as I'm able to.
I did put the link to the newsletter, if that's okay, so people can see that.
Oh, sure.
Subscribe.
Absolutely.
And I also still keep a link in there about you can still buy the 2024 Macstock virtual pass.
Indeed.
Did I say that right?
Indeed, yes. And everyone here. Now, see, where I'm pointing is probably not where you're actually at. This is where you're at in Zoom. But Dave and Marty and Chuck all presented at Macstock 8. Yes. And you can catch all of those talks with the digital pass. Yes. For sure. Yeah.
And with that, where can people find you?
Thank you, Dave. I am at forMacEyesOnly.com and Mastodon. tooting.ninja/@ for Mac Guys Only, or tooting.ninja/@ Max.expo. And I'm also now on this thing called Blue Sky, although the profiles are so long that I don't even know how to give it to you. So it's just search for @Max.expo or @for Mac Guys Only, and you'll find me on Blue Sky as well.
It comes up just like that. You'd be okay.
Yeah, that'll come up.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Great. Thank you. And Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Thank you, Dave, for having me. MacVoices.com is where you can find everything. We have done our annual holiday gift guides, and so you can check those out. There's also a master list in the blog section of the Mac Voices website. So if you just need to cut to the chase and find a gift now, instead of going through and finding out why you need the gift, you can just go there and click through and find those gifts. We do a live show on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Our schedule's a little bit disrupted for the next few weeks because of the holiday. But on the 30th, I have that right, the 30th of December, we're going to do a special 1-hour live show starting at 8. And it will only be for an hour, and then we will transition directly over into Vision Profiles, which Marty will now tell you about. But before he does, you can find me on the socials as @Chuck Joyner. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chuck. Oh, absolutely. Always a pleasure having you. And Marty Jencius, yes, tell us about Vision Profiles and where people find you.
Start with where people can find me, Jencius, Jencius, at Blue Sky and also at mastodon.social. I love being here on Thursday nights with Dave and with the panel that joins. Also Tuesdays with Chuck, and that's a larger and different experience, but it's been great because we've been doing some things like Vision Pro Focus, where we're doing occasional shows that are just about the Vision Pro, but more larger topics around the Vision Pro. You can find me Monday nights generally at 9 o'clock live streamed Eastern Time, live streamed on YouTube, and pick it up on your podcast servers with Vision Profiles, a show that I do with Eric Bolden, and we talk just about the week's news about Vision Pro and also other AR, VR headsets and such. Then again on Wednesdays with the Old Mac Gang, a group of panelists 65 and plus who talk about issues that are important to tech users 65 and plus. And that's about all I'll promote right now. Those are the two shows that I'm focused on, and enjoy doing them and enjoy being with this group all together.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And before we go, I'll just let you know there'll be there's a programming note. I'm going to be recording this show on Friday next week after the Christmas holiday, because we want to have Patrice Brendamore. Everything works out. She's going to come on the show, so we like to do that. It's usually during the time slot that the Mac show is on, which this is on hiatus. So why not? Let's have an early show on a Friday instead of the normal Thursday. So that's coming as well. So and I will want to also thank everybody for listening. I want to wish everybody who does celebrate Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And we'll join you next week after that holiday. But until then, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.